or a council member look at me and go, and I'm like,
call the meeting to order. Okay, so this is the Environmental Advisory Board meeting for February 15th. Our first agenda item is the approval of the minutes from the January 2024 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I move they be approved.
Okay, John moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Jensen seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we have announcements from Town of Apex staff.
I don't have any announcements at the moment.
Okay,
I know, right?
thank you. Not thank you for no announcements, but thank you for letting us know. Okay, so that brings us to the rezoning case reviews. First up, we have New Hill Holloman Road rezoning. This is 24CZ03 with Matthew Carpenter.
Good evening, Matthew Carpenter with Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street. And I'm here this evening on behalf of the Keith Corp, the developer of the site. Also with me are Jonathan Balderson with McAdams, our civil engineer. And Shelley, grab the PowerPoint here.
Which one are we doing first?
This one. Yep. Perfect, thank you.
You are welcome.
Apologies for that. Matthew Carpenter with Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street. This is the New Hill Holloman Road rezoning. And I'm here this evening on behalf of the Keith Corporation, the developer of the site. Jonathan Balderson with McAdams is with me. And the request is for, let's see if I can get to the next slide, a 25.68 acre site at the corner of US 1 and New Hill Holloman Road, called out there on your screen in yellow. And this is sort of in the southwest area of Apex's jurisdiction. You can see south of US 1 in this location is generally Holly Springs, and then north of US 1 is Apex. So we're really along sort of the southwesternmost boundary of the town. And you can see I think the Apex jurisdiction is actually in red on this slide. So you can see some of the neighboring uses are called out. Directly to the west of us is the Western Wake Regional Water Reclamation Center. To the north is the Holloman Hills subdivision. On the other side of New Hill Holloman Road is the New Hill Community Center. And then south of US 1, you can see some of those developments that are underway in Holly Springs, the big Amgen economic development project just on the right side of your screen. And then I know there are also some friendship projects just south of here. So the land use map here, the designation is office employment commercial services. And so you can see that with the sort of diagonal hatched lines there. The red is commercial and the blue is office employment. So the goal, the best I can tell, that for the land use map was to designate this area at the interchange as sort of a commercial non-residential node to serve residential development in this area as this area of the town and Wake County continues to develop. And then the request that we're bringing forward tonight is to rezone this property to planned commercial conditional zoning. So you can see in purple, the site is currently zoned highway district in Wake County's jurisdiction. So a lot of times when you see development sites in more rural areas like this, it's residential agricultural or it's sort of a holding district. Here, there's actually already some commercial entitlement in Wake County. And so the current Wake County zoning permits a wide range of commercial, office, and residential uses. But we're proposing to bring it into the town's jurisdiction. We've got an annexation petition that is being reviewed concurrently. And the purpose of the rezoning is to allow the development of a new YMCA. So the Keith Corporation has been working with the Y for several months, and the Y really likes this site because of its location, because of future residential development in this area of town in Wake County. And so that's really the goal of the request. We don't have a site plan yet. We haven't fully designed the site layout, but the main purpose of the planned commercial conditional zoning district was to pick a district that permits health fitness center, which is the YMCA's use, and some other commercial non-residential uses that are consistent with the land use map designation.
Matthew, will it all be YMCA, or are you indicating that it'll be other stuff too there?
So the zoning is a conditional zoning case, and so it does permit more uses than just the YMCA. But the goal is to develop the Y. The Keith Corporation has an agreement with the Y to develop it for that purpose. And the Y will take the entire site. So there won't be any out parcels that are left or anything like that.
Thank you.
Yep. And I added this slide just to show an aerial of the site. It's mostly wooded right now. You can see a stream that runs across the site diagonally, sort of in that area where you can see some trees are gone. Oddly enough, it doesn't show up on GIS, the stream, but it is there. And so that has also will impact our site layout as we continue to move forward. And so in terms of environmental conditions, these are the four that we proposed at the moment. Obviously, this is a process that's still evolving. The first is that there will be no clearing or land disturbance in the riparian buffer except for the minimum necessary to install the sewer infrastructure, SCM outlets, and one stream crossing that we'll need for access. So you can see here we don't have much frontage at all on New Hill Holloman Road on the right of your screen. And so our sole access will need to come from Church Road, which is on the top of your screen. So we will have to cross the stream once with the site driveway to get to Church Road. And then the second is that we'll have one sign per SCM to prohibit fertilizer in a publicly accessible location. The third is that 75% of plants will be native species. And then finally, we included a condition to the color temperature of the lighting, acknowledging that this area is in some ways still rural. There are a lot of larger tract, residential areas nearby. But before we get into the recommendations, I do think that this case is somewhat different than some you hear me bring, where we have a developer of a large residential site or a large mixed-use project. Here, the developer is working hand in hand with the Y. And so the analysis of, well, can we absorb the cost of certain commitments is much different here because of the nature of the YMCA. It's a nonprofit. It's obviously focused on community betterment and community activities rather than your typical developer that you see come through the process. And so that has impacted our conditions and what we're offering already because we've got to think about the WISE programming, where their ball fields are going to go, possibly a pool, and the different things that'll go into the site layout. And so part of the reason these are somewhat lean is to allow flexibility as we do site design for the YMCA to really develop the best site layout that they can. And so with that, happy to answer any questions.
One quick one I have just got. Will the YMCA own the property and the building, or is it going to be leased to the YMCA?
The final structure hasn't been determined, but I think both options are still in play. The developer owns the land now, and so it will be some sort of build to suit. I think that the most recent I heard is that the Y wants to own it, but the final structure for that hasn't been worked out yet.
Is the Y considered a for-profit or non-profit? It's a nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit, yeah.
There are a lot of trees on this property.
There are.
How much cutting and removal of trees is anticipated on this?
Yeah. So I don't have an exact number for you. I do know that the RCA requirement is 25%. So we're going to be required to meet that. There will be clearing for ball fields, tennis court, and potentially an outdoor pool. So part of the constraints here are that stream and then we'll have a buffer, the buffer off US 1, which is a 100-foot buffer, and we're asking to reduce that to a minimum of 50 feet in one of our conditions, just because we haven't done the site layout yet. So, a lot of that programming will go south of the stream here because of the stream location. And so I can tell you at least 25% will remain. It may be more than that, but it's difficult to commit to more of that without knowing exactly how much land area the fields are going to take up.
So have you had a stream call done yet?
I don't believe so. Jonathan, do you know the answer to that? Come up. But we do expect it'll be a jurisdictional stream.
You can see it on the LiDAR,
yeah.
yeah.
You asked about a stream call? Yes, we have had one done.
And so is it perennial, intermittent? What do you have?
It's perennial, is my understanding of it.
Okay.
So that would have the 50-foot buffers on each side.
Okay, because this is in the noose, or?
Town of Apex buffers are 100 feet if it's a perennial stream on each side.
Yeah, so that's why you're asking for the reduction, right?
No, he's talking about for a perimeter buffer along the
Oh,
highway.
I'm sorry. Yes. So,
Get easily confused.
yeah.
Okay, so, and so is that, the clearing that I see amongst the hardwoods, is that a sewer line or what?
It is. It's a sewer easement. Yeah.
So, okay. And then, so it looks like most of your hardwoods, it looks like it has been cut over before just with the density of those pine trees, but your hardwoods that weren't cut are all along that stream.
Right.
Not a recommendation, but a hope that you all can, as part of your RCA, preserve as much of that as possible.
Right. Yeah, and we will be required to in the buffer, and that's why we went ahead and added that first condition too, just to make it very clear. I think most projects now do that as sort of a matter of practice, but we did go ahead and provide this language with the one caveat for the one crossing we'll have. So
I noticed you haven't offered to do plant only warm season grasses. Any reason behind that?
I'm 75% sure that would be okay. I don't know what sort of turf they're going to plant if there's a soccer field, or how that would come into play, without talking directly with the recreational staff.
I would recommend that we ask that warm season grasses be required to the extent they don't impact athletic fields. Outside of athletic fields, I guess. Is that?
Yeah, I think we're okay with that, and I can confirm after the meeting.
You noted the development to the north. Is there going to be sidewalk connectivity or bus access, or is this more of a destination YMCA?
It'll be more of a destination, just because there's not a lot of connectivity here. Now, there may be, I know there'll be some bus service for kids' camps and things like that, but you see, again, we don't have any frontage really on New Hill Holloman, and then we have limited frontage on Church Road. So, and those other properties shown in yellow just above us there, they have a lot of the Church Road frontage. So if we were to put a sidewalk in, to get to New Hill Holloman, for example, it would have to go over their properties, which they wouldn't be very happy about based on the neighborhood meeting. So.
And so I know often it's, kids spend a lot of time at the Y, but I would imagine there would be exercise spaces for adults, so people might be coming there and staying for a little bit of time. Do you intend to do anything regarding EV charging?
Yeah, so the UDO now, I think the changes were at the end of last summer, requires 3% for commercial, 3% EV charging spaces, and then 15% EV ready, I believe. So we will have to install those. I think going above that is potentially overkill, just because of, it's not a multifamily complex where people are parking overnight. But we will be doing the 3%, and obviously with the 15% EV ready, if there's demand, in the future, we could put new spaces in. So.
I do have a Creston Solar, like usual. 18A, and it's basically what we've been asking before. Solar PV systems shall be incorporated into buildings to be constructed on the property. Wrong glasses. Such PV systems shall have a capacity of not less than 2 kilowatts per 1,000 square feet of heated building floor area. And I added to that, or a capacity to produce 100% of the expected electrical use, whichever is less,
Right.
okay? Which I think it makes it very fair.
Yeah, I spoke to the architect actually for the Y about that yesterday. And her answer was that the Y has evaluated solar in the past and would in this case, but that we don't know enough. They can't commit to it yet is the answer that I got. And so, I think as we get further along in site design, if it makes sense, I think it is something they'd be willing to do. But it's really early, and some of those things are difficult to make as commitments now because of the timing. And there's also, not to get too in the weeds, but there's pending litigation you probably are following at the Court of Appeals about the net metering, and where Duke has reduced the amount that they'll pay for excess energy that is put back on the grid.
Is this going to be a Duke Energy supply? I know across the
I
street.
don't
think it
know
wasn't.
if it's Duke or Apex here.
It is.
Across the street, I think they committed to Apex. I didn't see what this was here.
This is a Duke electric
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
This portion of
Okay,
town is.
but across the street, they did commit to Apex, didn't they? On the other one we're going to look at tonight?
I think that both of these are Duke Electric because there's actually a large transmission line just on the other side of the street within the other property.
I'll have to.
And I do know that Holloman Hills is Duke Electric, which is just to the north of this.
Yeah, I know it's all, and that kind of surprised me when I thought I saw in the one across the street that they had committed to Apex.
They may have signed the document just in case, but not realized that it's actually a Duke Electric area. That happens occasionally. That document's just a standard portion of our application, and so if you're going through and you're just signing everything, then it doesn't
Kind
hurt
of like
to
buying a house, right?
Jeff signed that
Right.
one.
It doesn't hurt to sign. It doesn't hurt to sign that document if it's not offered by the town.
It's required.
Yes.
As part of the zoning package, Mr. Jensen, you require us to sign that. If Apex Electric is available, then the project is required. If Apex Electric is not available, then do concern.
Thank you for the clarification.
And I bring up that case, not to say no, but just that I think as a policy matter, it's something that the board would want to follow because it's going to reduce the financial benefit of having solar for residential and commercial.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Although on the other hand, solar's come down to probably for something this size, $1.80 a watt, which is half of what it was just 3 years ago.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm going to put that as a request anyhow.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at it and keep talking about it.
I see there is about, 4 homes there right on New Hill Holloman that's bordering that property. What type of buffer are you doing between your development and their homes?
So right now, it's the UDO required buffer, which Shelley can correct me. I believe it's 30 foot adjacent to existing homes with commercial.
Actually, I just checked the buffer table today on my review for this, and I think it's a 20-foot,
Okay.
20-foot type A.
Right. So as the case sits right now, it would default to the UDO provision. But we are looking at that because we did speak to that property owner. And so that may be something we tweak as a condition going forward.
Yeah, considering if you were to have ball fields and stuff there, I could see that being a problem
Right.
for them.
Right.
Are the ball fields going to be lit? Is there going to be nighttime use?
So they will, I believe, have lights. I don't know, but I don't think the WISE programming typically especially outside, wraps up well before 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And then even inside, it closes fairly early.
Okay.
So I don't think there'll be a lot of night field lighting out there, like
So
you'd see at like a high school.
Not like, yeah, high
Right.
school or the Hunter Street Park, okay.
And your desire to reduce the buffer along US one is because of the stream, you're losing all that space.
Because of the stream, and it's because of the Big Branch sewer line, force main that's coming through there. We've already spoke to utility staff, and on that alignment, I believe the default is that the buffer has to be inside the sewer easement, and so that would make it even wider buffer. And we are working with staff on the final location of that easement in the force main to make sure it works with the WISE layout. So those conversations are still happening.
And has DOT, are they gonna widen this portion of US one, and have they acquired all their right-of-way if so?
So I'm not sure about the US 1 widening. There is a STIP project to widen the New Hill Holloman Road Bridge that has received funding fairly recently, I believe $10 million. And then the Town of Holly Springs Council approved that too. So that project's moving forward. They haven't given us a timeline on that yet, but there are improvements to that bridge. And we've done our own TIA, even though it wasn't required at this stage. We've already done it and are working with the town to review it. So we're waiting on those comments, and they should be back in a few weeks.
I think any widening of US one in that area is down the road pretty far,
Right.
based along my trips up and down that road.
Yeah, I was just down there today, and yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of traffic, but
Traffic is bad down there. Yeah.
How much of a buffer were you looking to get to on that side? You wanted to reduce it?
Yeah. So we've asked for 50 feet.
50?
Yeah.
Versus what is it, 100?
100, right, which is what's outlined in the UDO, the potential for that reduction. And in some of the initial sketches that we've done, which have just been sort of rudimentary, some of the fields have been just north of that buffer there. So, even though there wouldn't necessarily be a building for a while.
Right.
But
Well, the only thing I can see there is, you've got all kinds of pollutions and stuff coming from the highway, and that's why that buffer is so wide.
Right.
To reduce sound noise, reduce, air pollution, light pollution, all of it. So
right.
that's why that 100-foot buffer is there, but I understand where you're coming from.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, so is there a motion to accept what they have proposed with the amendment to add warm season grasses with an exception for athletic fields, as well as the solar provision 18A with the modification that Mr. Jensen stated?
Is it just 18A, Mr. Jensen, or is it?
Yeah, we'll just go with 18A, and I'll give you a write-up, a marked-up copy.
Okay.
And that is, or with the capacity, I already said that,
100% capacity.
to provide 100%.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
okay, Adam, is there a second?
I will second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, looks like, hello again.
Hi. I don't even think I'm going to sit down and get back up here.
Yeah, so now we have New Hill Plaza mixed use PUD, rezoning 23CZ 25.
Matthew Carpenter again, 301 Fayetteville Street. This one will be easy to orient you to because it's right across the street. And we're calling it the New Hill Plaza PUD. The developer here is Barnett Properties, and the engineer is Jeff Roach with Peak Engineering, who's here with me. As I mentioned, the site is directly across New Hill Holloman Road. So sort of uniquely, both of these sites were owned by Duke Energy, and were part of a larger overall tract and have been sold. And so this is the other site across the road. And just like with the other sites, it's shown as office employment, commercial services on the land use map. And so, yeah, there it is. And so again, it's the other side of the intersection, but I think it's the same vision from the land use map, that this is really a commercial area because of its proximity to the highway. I think having residential right up against US 1 doesn't make sense here. And then we do have a small portion of the site, the northern portion of the site, it is designated as low density residential. And so I think what the map is looking for there is sort of a transition as you move from US 1, the commercial node at US 1, and then north to some of the rural residential, more farm-like uses that exist out there now. And so this request is a PUD, so it's similar to what you're used to seeing. So it has the standalone PUD text that governs the permitted uses, the zoning districts, and the design guidelines. And so we've separated to the site into several different sort of zoning districts within our PUD. The red area is a commercial district. So the thinking there is that it'll be sort of a grocery anchored retail shopping center. Now there's no guarantee yet that a grocer will go here, but that is the vision. And Barnett has experience developing, shopping centers. They actually own the Publix Point Center that was a recent development near Beaver Creek. And so then as you move north, the orange area we're showing is a mixed use district. We don't know yet, how far north the commercial will go. So the mixed use allows for multiple uses, including the commercial and the residential. And then in the light yellow color is the residential district. So that will either be single family or townhomes. We did go ahead and cap the density, overall density, to 75 units for the whole project. So it's a largely commercial project with probably some residential north to sort of transition to those existing large tract farms to the north.
When you say 75, you mean 75 single and multi?
75 townhomes and single family. That's the overall cap, and it may be fewer than that given the constraints of the site. You can see the yellow section is sort of an odd shape there, and so but those are the numbers we've included in the PUD and in the TIA. And so we've added several commitments with our filing. We've only been through one round of review. We haven't resubmitted yet because we're waiting on some transportation comments to work through those. But this is what we have as our initial environmental commitments. The top section there are the residential commitments, the SEM signs, the native species, the warm season grasses, pet waste stations, and then all homes will be pre-configured with solar. And then in the non-residential, we went ahead and bumped the stormwater pond standard up from the 10-year to the 25-year. We've specified that there will be no clearing or land disturbance in the riparian buffer. Again, signs discouraging the use of fertilizer and reducing pet waste, the same native species planting requirement, and then also the warm season grasses. So this is what we've got for now. We are still, I know it's helpful that we come to y'all after filing now. I think it is better. But for this particular project, we still are fairly early because some of our site could still move around as we work through the TIA, which has been a huge focus of this one because of the bridge project and the requirements there. So we'll probably resubmit in the next month or two, but it has sort of slowed things down because of the transportation improvements. So happy to answer any questions or on specific commitments.
Curious how you visualize access to the residential section.
Yep. So the I don't know, it's kind of small there, but you can see the road in gray that crosses.
Okay, that would be the Church Road extension, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so that'll line up there. But we're working with the New Hill Community Center because it will require a portion of their lot. And so what we've discussed with them is a land swap where, we either just pay them for the area or we give them, more land along the southern property line of their site to make sure that they have enough room. So that would be the primary access that would extend to the residential section here.
Okay.
And so what is the acreage of the residential section?
Jeff, do you remember?
It's like 8 acres or something.
Right.
So like up to 75 units on 8 acres?
No.
Yeah, so that's just the cap for the PUD, but just geometry, you know, there that many units probably won't fit there, so.
Will those be apartments then over business or something?
No, they're either townhomes or single
Maybe
family.
townhomes or something?
Yep.
And so is there gonna be sidewalk connectivity? I mean, so like, you now have this amenity on the other side, which I realize is a separate thing, but like, what is the sidewalk situation and pedestrian?
Yeah, so we'll have, we'll have 5-foot sidewalks along the perimeter of the project as required by the UDO. So we'll have to put those in for our frontage along New Hill Holloman Road. And then we'll also have sidewalks internal to the development. And I think, you know, there will be some connectivity there. Well, there has to be between the residential and the commercial.
So if somebody wanted to like bike to the Y, like do you anticipate there being like a signal at that, like streets?
Possibly some of that is we're still waiting on the transportation comments to come back from the town. It could be, again, the issue on Church Road is that some of those lots we don't control. Neither one of these projects control, and so there may be a gap there, you know, unless we could work out something with those property owners, which just unsure about right now.
And so what would the vegetative buffer look like between the community center and this project?
Let's see. Jeff, do you know off the top of your head?
I think we did 10, it was non-residential. I think we did 10 for a buffer.
Okay, and so even in the residential area, that would still be only a 10-foot buffer?
Yes. So you mean between the residential and
Yeah, and
adjacent properties?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right now, those are all rural, you know, just like 15, 20 acre tracts. And so there's no existing adjacent use right on the other side of the property line. We have talked to those neighbors and they've mentioned a potential fence along that property line. So we're still working on that because it's behind the commercial area and then the residential too. It could be a ton of fence. And so, you know, we don't want to erect a really large, ugly fence if in the future those properties redevelop. But also want to be mindful of those uses and those homeowners and the horses and things like that. So we're working on exactly what that's going to be.
And that's an electric easement on the, I guess, the north side of the.
That's right. There's also a town of Cary utility easement through there too. And so we're juggling that with the location of the road. Because we don't know, we don't think they're going to be enthusiastic about moving their easement. So, yeah.
I'd like to throw my solar out again for what it is. I mean, I recognize now that it's a Duke Energy supplied power, which screws things up thoroughly. 16A, I'd like to have a solar PV system of at least 3 kilowatts. Shall be installed on at least 10%. I reduced that. I was going to do 20, but we'll do 10 of the homes within the development before 90% of the building permits are issued. If it's 3 kilowatts, chances are, even with net metering, very little of that electricity is going to go out to Duke Power. So the net metering part kind of washes away.
Right.
So, and with a 3 kilowatt system, that's only 8 panels.
Right.
And the new systems have micro inverters. So you can just add or subtract and you can put them on any orientation. Okay, let me go and I'll try to get this done before the meeting's over. If a model home is utilized, this is 16B, a solar PV system of at least 3 kilowatts shall be installed before 30% of the building permits are issued. 16C, if an amenity center is constructed on the rooftop shall contain a solar PV system of at least 3 kilowatts. And I wanted to add one more that we've added before on some of these. All residential garages shall have a 220/240 electrical outlet. Everybody has done that, as you well know. It just makes sense, and it's a good selling point for the houses.
I agree. Yeah.
On the non-residential, 18A, solar PV systems shall be incorporated into buildings to be constructed on the property. This is all there. Such system shall have a capacity of not less than 2 kilowatts per 1,000 square feet of heated building area, building commercial floor area. I added that. And I'll tell you what, let me back off. I'm going to say 1 kilowatt instead of 2 kilowatts because we're in the Duke Energy area and it'll minimize. Was going to include solar conduit in building. Yeah, number 19, include solar conduit in building design. And that'll be it.
So with the townhomes, would they have garages? Do you envision them having garages?
I think townhomes do.
They don't have to, but I think we could write the condition to say that if they have garages, they'll have it.
If they have a garage, I
Right.
thought that's what I put.
Okay. Yeah, but if they don't have a garage and people are interested in charging an electric vehicle, what do you
good point.
do you think their options would be? I mean, I guess it would be run the plug across the sidewalk or have a station, right?
Yeah, and I think in those situations, it depends on the type of wiring in the house. And I think most homes now are wired in a way that allows it. I live in a neighborhood without garages, and I know several people have EV chargers, outside in their driveway next to the house. And they didn't require, rewiring the internal part of the house. So I'm not sure how to draft that. I could figure it out, but
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I would recommend that if they're configured in such a way where you're going to introduce a trip hazard, then at least one EV charging station should
Right.
be provided.
I lost you with that. You mean for the development?
For the residential.
Couldn't you just say if there is a driveway or garage, then a EV charging station must be installed? Because even if there is a driveway, then
That's
there's not going
true.
to be a trip hazard.
That's
But if
true.
there's
a
no
good point.
driveways at all, then there's a possibility of a trip hazard.
Yeah, so,
Shelley, don't they all have to have at least a parking pad?
They do have to have a parking space, but they don't necessarily have to have a driveway. So if you think of the Groves down on Center Street, those are parking lot style townhomes, which actually works out very well for guest parking and those things because they're not typically assigned. But there is a sidewalk across the front of them, which can make EV charging tricky. So if they do have a driveway without a garage, then Jason's suggestion would work just fine.
Would we want to have just one charging station or one charging station for every 15 houses or something like that?
yeah, that's a good point.
Well, you're talking a maximum of
yeah,
75
I
units.
think at that point it would be more akin to multifamily project, where you'd have
Yeah.
a few, right?
At that point, if there is an HOA for this project, which there probably will be, just given the buffers and things, then the HOA could work with a third-party company so that the HOA isn't responsible for the cost of that electricity. I'm not going to suggest that this be a requirement or anything, but just as an FYI, and then people could pay for the electricity used to charge their cars just like they would if they did it at their own house. But yeah, you could set it up the same way.
Right. I think the challenge that Shelley's getting at is that, with an apartment complex, there's one owner, one operator. And so, they maintain and pay for the chargers. In a parking lot style townhome, the parking lot is set up like multifamily, but each lot owner owns their home. Yeah. So it makes it's a cost sharing issue, but, we'll take a look at it and figure it out. But I think the suggestion makes sense that there's a driveway, that there's an outlet that will allow charging.
Yeah, because if it's an outlet, they can put it on the outside with a weatherproofing box.
I don't recall y'all agreeing to any pet waste stations I may be.
That was one per.
Did you?
One per
Okay,
25.
okay, good. Okay, yeah. On the non-residential side, if y'all are in that multi-use area, if you're gonna be putting in townhomes and stuff, there probably ought to be at least one there.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. If people are walking from the neighborhood to the commercial with their dogs, yeah.
I would add that
That's good.
to the non-residential
Okay. Add the pet station.
section.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so we have the proposed zoning conditions plus Mr. Jensen's solar conditions, plus the EV charging that Jason clarified, and then pet stations added to the non-residential section. Okay, is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Jeff, second. Jason, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thanks for
Thank
listening
you
to me
so much.
twice. I'll let someone else speak.
Okay. Next up, we have Old Smithfield Road, rezoning 24CZ02. Natalie Hinton Brooks, the owner and the applicant. Welcome.
Hi, welcome. Good evening, everyone. My name is Inetta Hinton, and I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself and my sister Natalie Hinton Brooks to the advisory board, to Environmental Advisory Board. It is our goal to rezone the property at 5836 Old Smithfield Road so that we can operate an assembly hall for profit with minimal changes to the current property. This property was built in the 70s by our father, brick by brick, Billy Hinton, to create generational wealth. It operated as a business for many years, but between 1975 and 1990, our father leased it, the business, to various individuals, and including the church. And unfortunately, due to the lapse of his maintaining the licenses, he was unable to utilize the grandfather policy. Our fathers tried for several years prior to his death in 2008 to have this property rezoned. He was unsuccessful. This property was our father's legacy. It was his pride and joy and his hard work, and we want very much to continue that legacy. It holds the distinction of being the only African-American business in the town of Apex in operation for 48 years. We are currently unable to obtain any licenses through the ABC board to serve alcohol. We host a variety of events, such as Feltonville community meetings, family repasses, baby showers, wedding receptions, weddings, family reunions, and birthdays. We look forward to expanding our activities and being a part of the continual growth of the town of Apex. Sorry. And we want to comply with all the phases of this process with the hopes of minimal changes to the current property. It's our desire to be a part of the growth of the town of Apex. And we would like to thank Shelley Mayo and you all for your various and other departments for your continual support.
So I helped the Hinton sisters with putting together a couple of slides, including some aerial imagery. I've got the town's regular planning map viewer up as well. What may be difficult to view on here is at the back, there is a blue line stream shown. The last time this was evaluated, and it's been quite a while, that was a 50-foot stream. And the existing building is shown here in the front with some of the driveway. The conditions that the Hinton sisters have agreed to that we would consider environmental, I've got 2 pages full. The first one is that they will not exceed 12% built upon area on the site without a stormwater control measure, unless it meets one or more of the exemptions listed in section 6. Now those exemptions include things like disturbing less than 1 acre and having an existing amount of impervious surface as of the time that this ordinance was adopted. So there hasn't been an evaluation at this point as to how much impervious surface is on the site, but it does look, and eyes can be deceiving, like it's less than that 12%. In addition, there's a little tiny piece of a 100-foot riparian buffer that overlaps onto their property on the northwesternmost corner. There's a tiny little leg right here. Well, hold on. It's loading. Tiny little leg right up in the corner there.
Okay.
Where that buffer comes out this into here over a little bit. The rest of it is a 50-foot as far as we can tell at this point. And they've agreed that those riparian buffers will not be disturbed except the minimum necessary to install any water or sewer infrastructure and SCM outlets. There will be no water storage or treatment for the SCMs within the riparian buffer, and any sewer will be designed to minimize impacts to the buffer. In addition, they will designate that area as resource conservation area. Now, this actually already has water and sewer out there. They're part of the Feltonville neighborhood, and that neighborhood it was through a combination of Town of Apex and Wake County, and there may have been a third group quite some time ago, 30, 40 years ago, that provided sewer out there, and they also received town water as well. So there should not be any impacts as far as putting in additional water or sewer back there, because there's already sewer in the riparian buffer back there, and there's already a sewer line along their easternmost property boundary. So there shouldn't be any additional changes to that. In addition, they're offering a 15-foot type E buffer, and that's because if you look at and again, I'll see if I can go up another slide, which is going to take a second to show up. The existing house is set pretty close to the road, but when I measured the area within this kind of tree island area between the two driveway accesses, so between here and here, it's a little over, it's around 18 feet wide, so 15 foot would be the reasonable buffer width right there. They're also proposing to preserve the trees within this existing buffer to the west. Miss Natalie Hinton lives in this property right here. And because there's an existing utility easement that runs up this property line, we're recommending no buffer along that area.
I'm having trouble seeing your
I'm sorry.
cursor.
I would love to make that bigger for you, but I don't really know how. Hold on.
It'll mess things up if you try.
Maybe I'll try this. Can you see the red better?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So there's a sewer easement that runs along this shared property line right here. And because of that, we can't plant any trees out there anyway. So in order to help them also get the amount of parking that they'll need for this site and to come into compliance, planning staff has agreed that considering the few trees and everything on there, it makes no sense to request an additional buffer right there because of that sewer easement. The next condition is that the parking lot can remain gravel except for the driveway aprons. There's some language in here about the type of subgrade and all that stuff that comes directly out of the UDO. And parking in VUA areas are not required to be set back from any required buffers. There's normally a 5-foot setback from that, but there will be wheel stops installed to prevent the cars from just running into the vegetated areas. They've also agreed not to do any exterior lighting unless they provide us with a lighting plan later on. And the ladies have both told me they have no inclination to add a whole bunch of extra lighting out there. It's a nice rural area, and the people who want to come enjoy things actually enjoy it the way it is. And then the last thing is just, and I put this in here because waste removal is kind of an environmental thing. is that a dumpster will not be permitted unless it's screened per the UDO's requirements. The ladies have already informed me that they generally just take the trash to the dump because it's literally across the street.
Yeah.
It's the most convenient trash disposal you can possibly have.
Well, you gotta get across the bypass though.
Gotta get
That part can be tricky.
That's
That
not
can be,
easy.
that can be tricky.
That's tricky.
So these are the conditions that planning staff worked out with the applicant. There are a few more in your packet as well, but those were not ones that impacted the environmental conditions. We're trying to help the sisters bring their property into compliance without overloading them with a ton of additional things that they don't have the funds to do, and also would be very difficult to do with the existing building and the existing site as is. So these conditions, Diane Ken, our planning director, and I worked out together, and the sisters have agreed with everything. They've been great to work with.
The plan is to use the existing building on site, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The 15-foot E-buffer that you mentioned, but they're committed to preserve the plants that are there right now? Is that?
We have discussed, depending on the spacing that's out there, they may have to plant 1 or 2 trees, but that seems like that was fine, and we'll work with them to find trees that will work appropriately for the space.
So E-buffers always scare me.
I know.
That's one telephone pole every 100 feet or something like that.
This one will be a little bit more. They've actually already
It
got
looks like it.
significantly more trees out there than that.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's great.
This is a very impressive list of things you're willing to consider. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
This isn't a requirement or anything, but I would suggest you try to save those beautiful oak trees in the back.
Oh, we will.
They're gorgeous.
Is there a motion to accept the conditions as written?
I move we accept the conditions as proposed.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. John and Jason, all right, all in favor, please. Aye. All right,
Aye.
Thank you
opposed?
very much.
All right, motion passes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Almost too easy, huh?
All that Steve understood. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we are moving on to new business, which is sort of
Executive orders?
maybe new business / open discussion. I had a couple things. The first is we have Earth Fest coming up rather quickly, as well as Peak Fest on the heels of that. So I don't recall if we ever decided if we're gonna do both. Do you all feel like we have the capacity to do both, being that they're very close and your travel plans and whatnot?
I know I'll be working for Earth Fest,
Okay,
so I won't be able to be there.
okay.
I don't know if that helps other people.
So Earth Fest is on the 20th, April 20th. We did get a confirmation from Lisa Rashke, who is the festival staff for the town. Just some other information. So setup would start at 10 and breakdown runs from 4 to 5, with the event happening from 12 to 4. So, and I don't have any details on Peak Fest, or if we're gonna get a confirmation.
First Saturday in May?
We will get a
May 4th.
confirmation. I don't know that date right off the top of my head, but I can get that information and get it out to y'all.
May 4th, I think.
Yeah, I think it's.
That sounds right, but I
That's the
hesitate
first
to
Saturday.
confirm something that I don't have in front of me.
I understand.
I'm showing it on the Town of Apex website as May 4th, 2024.
Thank you.
So if you all remember, that is a significantly longer event with like setup happening before dawn, and running all day. So, I can't recall what I did last year. I can pull up the spreadsheet about, I think the shifts were a little longer compared to Earth Fest, and it was just,
There were 2-hour shifts.
yeah, and, you know, with the number of people, if we're gonna do an interactive recycling game, we would probably, it is helpful to have more than one person, somebody who can do that and man if we're giving away things or just talking to folks that are coming by. So
I'm gonna ask that we backtrack just a smidge and go back to EarthFest for just a minute.
sure.
So you guys have a confirmed space, and if I recall right, you still have a tent, right? Or did
We do.
Okay.
We have a tent and
Don't know
a table
where,
cover.
but we have a
Okay.
tent, yeah.
Perfect. Because if you'll remember, right, last time I was not involved in any of this part. And then Lisa had 2 suggestions. I was very excited to leave all of that to Megan. Lisa had 2 suggestions if you all wanted to help out more than just at your own tent. If, say, we have more people at for one slot than another or something. So there's a compost giveaway. Since we're having a no waste food truck rodeo, they would love to have somebody to help out with showing people where to put their different types of compost and everything, and to help guests kind of connect with that process a little bit more. And then they also have, she's also going to buy BIP certified products that for the food trucks, so that we don't have to worry about the food trucks bringing their own compostable utensils and plates and things like that. We're just going to hand them out to them and say, no, please use ours, so that we have the best chance of actually hitting the goal of 97% waste free. Some of the other festivals in the area have not been able to hit that because they have not provided the compostable utensils and things to people. If you'd like to allocate a portion of y'all's budget to that, and I can get those numbers for you, I don't have that off the top of my head, then you're welcome to do so. If not, Lisa already has the funds set available for that, if that's what y'all want to do. So if you want to just do your booth and the things that you all decide to do, you're more than welcome to do that. But she's also offered these other 2 things in case that's something you want to do. She would like, if possible, a decision before the next meeting. So if it's something that has to be voted on, it probably needs to happen now. And I'm just trying to make sure I get her all the things that she says she needs from me right now. And then I know that you guys, sorry, I wanted to give you that information so that when you're talking about whether or not you're going to do both Earth Fair and the Peakway, or one or the other, or Peak Fest, or one or the other, you have all the information about what that may or may not constitute.
Do we have any giveaway items left? I know we do,
Got a fairly significant amount for the water resources, if I remember.
because didn't an event council we decided to give a lot of the giveaway items.
We did do that.
And we gave away some, but I don't know if we gave away all of it. I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah. Okay.
We got a lot of those seed sheets, I'm sure.
I think we gave away quite a bit at Peak Fest. All those little utensils and things like that.
Those things go.
Those
fast.
were, I
Those
think,
go
we did
fast.
not have any
We
of
don't have
those.
We had none of those left, yeah.
And
I
then
think what was left was seed packets, maybe those little grow
the
kits.
pots,
Yeah.
yeah.
There might have been a few water bowls or something left.
There might have been, yeah. I guess they'll last, what, 3 years? You guys know more about seeds than I do.
Oh, I mean, if the seeds are kept in the correct state,
Temperature.
they will,
Should
they're
last.
good pretty much indefinitely.
Yeah.
The downside with giving out milkweed seeds is that they take a year to germinate, and people aren't always patient enough.
Yeah.
They think that their thing died.
I know the utensils are expensive, but I do feel like they really fall in line with the compostable mission of EarthFest,
They definitely.
right?
fit
Like,
those.
we're trying to encourage people not to create waste when they eat fast food, and having those utensils that are easy to carry with you is a way to do that.
I don't know what our budget is, but if we do spend at least some of the budget on those, we're probably gonna use it all up
Yeah, we probably would.
on
I
that
think
one,
that's
on that one event.
Yeah, I agree.
And peak, we wouldn't have anything
We
for
wouldn't
Peak
have
Fest.
anything for Peak Fest.
Although Earthfest is significantly smaller.
It is, but they're
I
more
mean, maybe
focused.
it's worth doing just a certain number of those, right? And the first X number of people get that, and then we do some other giveaway that's less expensive at Peak Fest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but last year we did have a rain out, so it was all indoors. So I don't know how many.
It was
More.
really small, all indoors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully this year
yeah,
we'll have an outdoor
yeah.
event. Did we decide on a subject or a topic that we're doing?
We were gonna do, I think, the recycling game again. Where there should be, I think I saw them last year when I was investigating where our stuff was over at the stormwater building, the 3 different bins. There's 3 different like plastic trash cans basically that are labeled recycling, garbage, and reuse or,
Yeah,
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's the waste.
But we would need a compost bin too,
Diversion.
Ooh, perhaps.
right? I mean, shouldn't
Yes,
one of the goals
yes.
be to demonstrate to people how many things are compostable so that they are interested in composting on their own?
Very good point.
A lot of things are compostable way more than most people assume.
Yes, so that means we would need another trash can and another like label for it. I think Megan had gotten these nice stickers for it.
How in the weeds do we want to get on it? though?
Right, yeah, I think
Because
I
there
almost
are
think we need like,
compostable things that aren't
Yeah.
compostable at home. They're compostable by composting facility.
We don't
too.
But I think one of the goals, right, is for people to consider if they want to be having a contract with a composting company, which is possible to do within Apex.
One thing you might one thing you might want to have is a list of the local composting companies that you
I
can
assume they're
contract with.
coming, right?
It may be, but
Okay.
having
Yeah.
a list of the people that provide that service in this area.
Yeah.
With maybe like I don't want to say paper handout, but something they can at least snap a picture of with their phone.
yeah.
Do we have a
can
list of
make
people?
QR
or
code and-
companies coming?
Lisa will, and I can get her to give me that.
Because that would be good to have if we're going to be doing that. We're like, well, actually, there's 3 compost companies.
Right, right.
I would like to have people try and guess how far away their garbage goes. I mean, it just goes to the Western Wake landfill, but I'm not sure everybody knows that. So like, how many air miles is your trash going? Well, it's really not going very far.
Well, if
But
you
I-
look along US 1, a lot of it doesn't go very far because it ends up on the side of US 1. That's all coming from Raleigh, though. That's
Yeah,
all coming from Raleigh
yeah.
and Cary. So,
But that's an aside. So I think we still have like the big spinning wheel thing that, you
yeah,
know. So let's go back to the things that we need to decide today. So if we got some giveaway items, it being February, do we have enough turnaround time to get stuff, or like how would that work? So Megan sort of facilitated that, and then we've sort of been coasting on what was left over since.
And the town works with a company that's actually here in Apex. I don't know if all of their items come from close by, but the company themselves that does all this promotional stuff, they're also the same company that we work with to get our town shirts and jackets
Promotional
and things
partners.
like that. Yes.
they're-
I couldn't think of the name until you
Yeah,
said
they're
it,
good.
but yep. And I can ask Lisa or someone else who's set up with that, what the lead time is and like maybe what we would need for that. It's not typically super long though. And if you're willing to go without the EAB logo on them, we can probably get those items faster. Another option might be that we could order, say, a single EAB stamp, and you guys can hang out together one day after a meeting and stamp a whole bunch of stuff. And so I'm just trying to think of
Cheaper.
optional,
and it would be
less
cheaper.
expensive,
It would
but
be a lot
also
cheaper, yeah.
faster options to get the same items that you might want.
And what's the budget?
I don't know. I wish I did. That lives in the budget department, and I do not have access to that information. But I will check with our budget director and ask her. I think it was her anyway.
Okay.
Suzanne, I had a thought for you guys to consider for, yeah, I guess either both or the, I guess, yeah, either event or both events. Think about if you guys want to solicit public input about like environmental priorities that the town's doing as something you guys maybe would take on, maybe things that you would possibly take on as far as researching or advocating for. I find that these events are really nice when somebody has their say about something, they put a sticker on something or they write a little comment or something. It's kind of a nice engagement and
We've
ability to
done that.
educate as well.
Yeah, we've done that.
You have done that before?
Fest last year.
With
I think.
Yeah.
2 years, or, yeah, when Megan was
Whenever-
here, we did it at Peak
Okay.
Fest.
Oh, so
But-
it's not new.
But it was good.
But I mean, it was.
And we did it as a photo booth too, which was like even better.
Okay, that's a little more
So you-
engaging than.
Yeah, you
than-
kind of tied the whole thing together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there was a whiteboard and it said, I would like to see more of blank in Apex. And then people had colored markers to write on it, but then they could take their picture with it too.
What I'm
It's
thinking
nice.
is that could be anything that maybe things that aren't even Apex's realm, but if there are things that are curated by you guys that are actually things that might then happen in the future.
Like a checklist where
Oh,
they
yeah, we could
like
make up a
a-
checklist. Of,
Yeah,
Or
that
like a list of
that might be something that's
options and-
useful and engaging for the adults, maybe when the kids are playing the recycling game. So just something to think about.
So this is something that the planning department does on a regular basis when we're trying to figure out when we're starting our long-range planning for the new master plan every so often. And what we found that people really like is those word bubble, what are they called? The frequency word art things, where they can write down whatever their word or phrase, yes, thank you. And then we go in and we actually like write down how many times that occurred or happened or whatever, and we end up at the end coming up with a word map thing that shows how often it happened. Kids really get involved in this too, surprisingly. Like you wouldn't think that they would, but they actually really get excited about giving their feedback. So you could do both options. You could, one year I think at Peak Fest we did the thing that with the picture and the whiteboard, and then we also had a separate couple big pieces of paper
and you
where
write
people
it.
could write down what they thought the most important environmental thing is, or whatever.
Maybe the suggestion would be that the people at Earth Fest and at Peak Fest are different audiences, obviously. And the people at Peak Fest don't care about what's happening here for the most part. They just want to have a good time and walk around, buy arts and crafts and stuff. So something that's faster and more light for that may be different than someone who wants to get into the environmental policy at the Earth Fest, potentially. Something to think about too.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, this is a lot. I'm wondering if we almost need a subcommittee to hash out the details on this, because
We don't have time. to do
yeah,
it.
to hash every, and
we
it's
got-
it's a lot to work out, and it's coming up quickly. So, do we think our budget's like more than $1,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just sent you guys a link,
But how much is left in our budget?
affordable utensils that are available very quickly.
Okay.
We also don't have to use promotional partners unless there's a policy I'm not aware of. I give you that caveat just because. We can also try to find something that's ready to ship now. If that's what you all end up wanting to do, that's fine too. I think one year Megan ordered a bunch of plant or seed paper. It was like in the shape of like Mother Earth and some hearts and stuff like that, and those were handed out as well for things. So any of that's an option. Yeah, and I'm sure it's over $1,000. I think the first budget was far larger than any of us expected.
Yeah,
It was
when
like
we
$5,000
got
or something.
a budget the first time, we had I think it was 5,000.
I know, but I want to say this year it was more like 1,500.
Yeah, it's,
may have
it's,
been.
yeah,
Let
it's
me
dropped
see if
since
I
then,
can-
yeah.
Let me see if I
remember,
can pull it up.
I think it may have been a situation
I'm
where
just
since,
saying.
since we've been using all this stuff from that first initial purchase,
it's been-
the idea was maybe we didn't
Didn't
need
it at all.
$5,000 every single year. But if you all want to do a subcommittee, that's perfectly fine. I'm happy to work with y'all on that.
I think we need to have a subcommittee.
Yes.
To try to come
And
up with this.
I'd be happy to be on the subcommittee because
It's-
I did do a little bit of this last year. Like-
It's $1,500.
Okay,
Thank you.
so that's not a ton. And so what was the unit price on the silverware, Katie, that you?
I sent you guys one that you can get 100 for 300 and change.
Okay, and they
It's
were-
less expensive than what we ordered previously because it's only 3 pieces. It's a fork, a knife, and a spoon. And I think what we ordered before maybe had a little straw and something. It had a little bit more. This still had the
little
same
case.
case, and we could put the logo on the case at that price.
Okay,
So
okay.
seems like could be worth it.
I do like the idea of giving something people can potentially grow. Like kids really seem, and a lot of people really seem to like
The little pots
the
were good.
challenge of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the pots I think were just normal herbs. It wasn't like any kind of native species, but it was still fun, and we got to hook them with it.
Well, it was a milkweed.
Oh wait, the last one was a
Last one
milkweed.
was a milkweed, yeah, because I've still got it on my kitchen counter.
I'm trying to think if we could get like echinacea or rudbeckia. I think both of those do not require any stratification, so those will come up a lot easier.
Yeah.
Those are
And they're
7 to 10
beautiful.
day germination.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we want kids to love the environment, it might help if they can actually grow the thing that
Yeah.
they set out to grow. Right?
Okay, so what I seem to be hearing is that perhaps we want to put the money towards giveaways versus contributing to the compostable plates.
Yeah, but if we are giving utensils, that is contributing.
That, okay, indirect,
Because
yes,
that's 100 people that don't need
yes,
utensils,
that's correct. Yes,
or however many people.
okay.
Which should that mean that we need to be one of the first booths to come in?
Well, we need
Before
to
they
tell
get their
people, don't
food.
try to
Before the food.
Yeah, we have to say, these are for you, you gotta use them today, and then you can take them home, and you can use them however long you want for the rest of your life. But yes, they do have to use them that day. That's part of the deal.
Yes.
Okay, so are we in agreement that we will allocate our budget towards
Giveaways.
something that's growable and silverware?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And then the other decision for today, one festival, both festivals, both, well, give me your thoughts.
I think it has to be Earth Fest for sure, right? It's just the mission has to be.
Yeah.
I'm happy to work multiple shifts at Peak Fest if that makes it more palatable, because I will not be here for Earth Fest.
Yeah, so last year at Peak Fest, we had shifts from 6:30 in the morning till 4 is when breakdown began.
And we were broken down by 5, I guess.
We were, I mean, people started to,
Well, it was just, the visitors came from the other booths. That's about all it was.
yeah.
How was the community involvement at Peak Fest? I was only there at the opening shift.
Same for me. Oh, wait.
It wasn't
okay.
bad. A lot of people showed a lot of interest, and we did get a little bit of feedback from people.
did.
Not much.
The difficulty, if I remember correctly, is we were across from the depot, and that's where there was a band playing. So when the band started, it was much harder to have conversations
Yeah.
with people.
But I mean, I think that's where all the town spots are, right there in front of the depot.
It depends on the Peak Fest.
Last year,
planning-
everybody was together.
I
right
believe you.
there. Yeah.
Planning has in the past been next to the Halley, which is far enough down that you don't,
Not quite.
like on the other side of the
Yeah.
Halley, so it's far enough down that you don't always hear the band as intensely. But yeah, some years everybody's together, some years they're not.
I've got mixed feelings on Peak Fest. It's good to get the name out and stuff, but if we don't have sufficient people volunteering, it makes it difficult to get the booth
Shelley,
running.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
Is there an opportunity at Peak Fest for Bee City and Tree Cap to help with our booth?
Yes. If that's what you would like to do, we can definitely reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to help out.
What if it be like a combined booth? Just all of them.
Yeah,
in
it'll
one?
be your same tent, so it'll still have your logo and stuff on it, but you can also have stuff for Bee City and Tree Cap.
That would be
And then you can
viable.
add those, and I think each of those has at least 6 people, if not 9.
Is that bigger than last year? Because last year we had like one person from Bee City, and that was it.
So Bee City hasn't met in quite a while. Their staff person has been having some stuff going on, and they just haven't had as much going on lately. So I don't know how many people are still on Bee City at the moment. I know Tree City has actually been meeting fairly regularly. We got some stuff about potentially having somebody come tonight, and we just couldn't get them on the agenda. And they may attend next month if there's time or not, we're not sure. But I think they're still pretty active at the moment, and I think there's at least 6 or 7 people on that committee. Jason, you've been there more recently than I have.
I know of 2 people that were going there. I don't know anymore. I mean, there's Philip Barnes, but he's the staff, and then there's Mary, and then I do not remember the other lady's name right now on the top of my head.
Okay.
But from what Philip was saying is they're pretty active. The whole group is.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, so they might
Yeah.
really be interested in doing that.
With that-
especially if
It
we can
would be
organize
good
it.
for the 3 groups.
With that
Potentially to be
said,
together.
do we
Yeah.
need
I think
to
so.
make a decision tonight whether to do both events?
No, I just needed to get more information about Earth Fest. If you all want to put off the decision about Peak Fest until we can get some more information, until we can extend the offer to have them join you, and then see if that allows enough people to be there for it.
It would be nice to have we can supply 4 people from, Tree Cap and 2 people from B City, and that way we know, okay, we'll have enough people for Peak Fest.
It may make
I
sense.
also, just as a thought, if you all want to take advantage of this, I have a contact with the Forest Service who does the seedling growth every spring, and they put them up for sale. If you want, I can reach out to him and see if there's any if the town can purchase some, or if there's an opportunity for them to donate to us, to be willing to give us some seedlings to offer for sale. They don't always do great when people take them home and plunk them in the ground, but sometimes they do really, really well, especially if there's somebody on hand who can explain or has a piece of paper that helps them explain how to plant them.
Tree giveaways do
And the
really
tree
well.
cap people would probably be thrilled to take over that part of that.
Yeah. they would.
I worked with the NC Forestry Department some time ago and got a whole bunch of trees, but you almost have to start late the year before to get them. And they were all bare root. So if you're giving them away, you'd have to wrap them in something, but I'm not sure that we can get them. It's almost, I think it's a great idea, but
I can ask.
ask. The other part of it is, there's a way of, you talk to landscapers, they'll give you all these 1-gallon empty containers. If we started this earlier in the year and get the seedlings and put them in 1-gallon containers so that they can get started or something like that.
Sure.
Does the town have
But
compost?
they were really, I'll say they were, I'm
have
glad you got a
wood chips,
contact.
we
They
don't
were
have
really
compost.
easy to work with. And they do have containerized trees. The ones that I saw, I think, were the long needle pine though, and they just went gone like that. But it's a little late, but I think it's a great idea to do.
Okay.
Check with them.
Yeah, I'll send him an email this week, well, next week, and ask him what he's got, if he has anything at all, and if not, I'll let you know either way.
Yeah, if you have a contact, it'd be a lot better than what I had. I didn't know anybody.
I'm part of I represent Apex as part of a group through Wake County, and we have somebody on about tree canopy, and we have somebody who attends from the Forest Service.
I'll tell you what, I just bought 20 chestnut tree seeds. And they're apparently fairly easy to do, and that might be a thought, I don't know. I just got my packet, I'm gonna start
They're
growing
American
them.
chestnut? Are they American chestnut or are they the ones?
They're
that
American
crossbred
chestnut, but
back?
it's hybrid with the Japanese or Chinese, 10%, 90% American genes and 10% to get the resistance to the mold.
Okay, so I still think we need a subcommittee because
do
we
need a
still
subcommittee.
have a ton of details to work
Right.
out. And I think, last year I tried doing the Sign Up Genius. I think that we had the best success signing up for actual slots at the meeting, because I think we have a meeting right before,
Yeah, we do, 2 days before.
we could do it at the, I guess, next month, March.
March would probably be
Yeah,
better.
I would do
Yeah,
it in
yeah, so
advance.
that's when everybody can, sign up for their slots and,
And
consent.
lock in tree cap and Bee City in
Exactly,
advance,
yeah,
too.
we can reach out to those folks as well. So, is there anybody interested in being on a subcommittee? Okay, and I'll be on it because I did it last year. Anybody else? Okay,
I need at least 3 people. I can, 3 or 4, I can't have 5. 3 people.
Sure, I'll be on it.
do you have the bandwidth? I mean, we feel like, it's kind of like
Set you
we're,
up a new email account.
I get
Yeah.
another email
I mean, I
account.
could volunteer somebody, but no, I'm just kidding. If you volunteer Patrick, he'll kill me.
okay, so Adam, Jason, and myself, we will work out the details.
Yeah, we can get together some,
Yeah,
and
yeah, okay.
grab coffee or beer and talk it over.
Yeah, Shelley, do you have a sense, so last time, Stormwater delivered our stuff to us, like the tent and the, everything, to our
It's
space.
Still in their building, I would guess
Yeah.
that they might be willing to do that. Since
Yeah,
We just-
they, like-
yeah,
he
we just
he
have to
gets to
know.
make decisions for them, so
okay, okay,
yes, they'd be willing to do that for you.
okay,
And I believe it is in our building.
okay, yeah, so maybe one or all of us can take a trip over there and see what's going on, but we'll figure that out. Okay, the only other thing I had real quick before we adjourn is I wanted, Shelley, thank you for printing this out. So earlier this week, Governor Cooper signed this executive order to protect and restore North Carolina's critical natural and working land. And in it, Section 6 talks about how the governor has said that property allocated to the department, well, basically state-owned lands and lands owned by cabinet agencies shall only use seeds and plants that the USDA has classified as native to a state or county in the southeastern United States, including cultivars and varieties thereof that were not bred to have reduced reproductive structures. So this is like double blooms and stuff like that. Those really are not used by pollinators. And in here, there is a definition of southeastern United States, and there are some exemptions from this for turf grass and other situations. However, the last sentence of that section is local governments are encouraged to adopt similar native plant policies. And my understanding is the town does not really have an official native plant policy.
That is also my understanding.
So I was wondering if we as a board wanted to encourage the town to adopt a native plant policy, either similar and in the spirit of this. You know, this one, it only really applies to, you know, new projects. But, you know, we could say, well, as you're turning over landscape, maybe apply this policy to those landscape elements that you're trading out. So that way you sort of retroactively get these native plants in there. And their definition of native is pretty narrow and pretty impressive. So what do you all think?
I
Yes.
think it's a great
Yes.
idea.
Okay. So
And I think my recommendation would be to maybe work up a resolution
okay,
for us to adopt and ask for the town council to sign on to.
okay.
One question, do you all want to require or recommend that it be 100% native or a different percentage or or the
This
same
doesn't seem to
caveats?
make any exceptions.
And I understand that, I'm just asking the question so that we all have clarification.
I think it's doable. There's a lot more native plant places popping up. And if the state's gonna give it a go, I mean, because, so the Department of Transportation is a cabinet agency, and that is, they have, you know, huge amounts of land. So I think it would be
Could be good for
doable.
local economy as well, because there's been some local plant places. I know down in Pittsburgh popping up. It'd be good if they start popping up here too. So, yeah,
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
so does anybody want to help writing a resolution?
I will
I don't think you
commit.
need too much help.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
like-
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I will
mostly-
commit to,
Copy, paste, and-
I will
Okay.
commit to getting the draft, out before the
Replace
next meeting so
North
we
Carolina
can
with
discuss it.
That sounds great.
Okay, excellent. All right,
Do you mind
thank you,
sending
Jeff.
that to me as well when you get it out, just so that I can make sure it's something that we can
Oh, I will
legally
definitely
do?
get it to you. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
All right, so does anybody else have
Nice
any?
catch.
Yeah.
Good job, Suzanne.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything you would like to discuss?
Shelley, did you find anything else more about the permeable pavers we were talking about last time?
I did, actually. I spent some time looking that up, and actually, they require the same kind, the concrete blocks that we were talking about with the grass grid in the middle, requires the same type of sub-drainage underneath of them that the regular permeable pavement requires, which in our soils is, based on what I saw, 18 inches of gravel. A couple of different subgrades of gravel in there and a pipe to let the excess run off. So and that's in order for them to actually function appropriately and not to have the grass basically drown over time. There's also a plastic,
Yeah, I know what you're talking
the
about.
grid ones
Yeah,
that
it
are,
holds the gravel.
that it
basically.
holds it in place, and or it can hold the soil in place and give it a little extra rigidity. I'm not certain what type of plastic that is, and I'm always hesitant to recommend that people use anything plastic.
Right.
I think that that an alternative that might work similarly well to what you were asking for is what we call Hollywood driveways. So they have the concrete or sometimes gravel, sometimes brick areas that run right underneath where your tires are, and then they have a long strip of grass in between and on either side, so that you still have the same, you still have a reduced footprint from your impervious surface, but you don't have to worry about the added expense of having a thicker, heavier sub-drainage layer installed. I think the other ones would work great in the sandhills. I just, unfortunately, we have all slipped on enough mud around here to know that we're not in the sandhills.
Right.
So,
Did you say 18 inches thick?
18-inch deep, and that's just the subcourse. That's not including the actual paver itself.
Wow.
So then it's gonna be basically
Monstrous.
2 feet. Wow.
And that's just because our soils don't let water infiltrate that easily, especially once they get waterlogged. I mean, the first couple inches of rain in the fall, it's great stuff, but otherwise, not so much. And grass doesn't have deep roots to actually help break it up and provide those air channels to actually let the water infiltrate in there. So that's the other downside with those. You'd probably actually want some kind of deeper rooted species, and those are generally taller.
So what do we think about offering or suggesting the Hollywood strips? Is that something that we want to think about as a board to suggest? Or is
My inclination is, I mean, have they been successful around town?
I'm not aware of any here in town.
Okay.
I can look and see if anybody's done any in similar soil types. Are you aware of any places that have done? Okay.
I'm just curious if people are like maintaining them, or are they just, you know, tearing out the middle and putting down like fake grass, you know?
Yeah, it's going
Could do
to
that.
increase maintenance.
Yeah.
That's for certain.
I mean, if people wanted to embrace them, the best way of making sure that they're gonna actually drain appropriately and everything is to put a slightly taller but more deeply rooted plant in there that you can still cut back periodically. Even clover would do a better job, honestly. And I mean, I like clover just fine. Right.
Yeah,
Like strawberries.
So, oh, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's fine.
So you're thinking, Jason, just the fact that it's two narrow strips of pavement with just any species in the middle?
Right.
Okay,
Well, no. Any species that's not invasive.
gotcha. Not gonna jump out of the driveway, okay. Yeah, okay.
I mean, it would reduce the impervious footprint of the driveway, at least assuming that it works well and that people don't just get frustrated with it. It might be best to ask with a developer who's willing to work with you on it and is maybe a smaller development, so that they aren't necessarily trying to put in 500 houses and do this and finding out halfway through that they just can't make it work.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Any other items?
I had one question that I'm curious about, and that's Tree Cap has a giveaway for trees that people apply for, and I think they give away, something like 50 trees or something? But on their tree list, I didn't see maple or beech or hickory, which are all native.
They are all native. People hate hickory trees because they drop really big nuts on your roof.
I understand that because I have hickories in my yard.
I loved my hickory trees. My boyfriend hates them because every fall it's bam, 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 bam. We have
You don't want them over a driveway, that's for sure.
I don't see if they don't bother me nearly as much there. I can't hear them when I'm in my house.
I had mine cut down because it dented the car, literally.
Red maples we have major issues with because of a pest called gloomy scale, which is the cutest little name in the world for the ugliest little creature ever. And basically, if you plant them anywhere near concrete, the additional heat actually increases their rate of reproduction by 250% or more. Actually, I think it was 2 to 10 times. So the warmer area that they're planted in, the more likely this pest is to.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's the
take
pest
over.
that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So Hollywood strips.
Right. So we don't actually recommend planting red maples anymore unless somebody's going to plant them near a creek or in a large open space that's well away from pavement. We actually actively recommend against it because what happens is people end up having to have a ton of pesticides sprayed all over them every single year, or they get to watch their favorite tree just die back. And it's been such a problem that I don't think we've recommended maples for 10 years.
We planted red maples down the Peakway between Center
did.
Street and
we
Old
took
Raleigh
them out.
Road. Are they,
I'm pretty sure they've been taken out since then.
no, they're all the way down. Yeah.
Well, then I'm assuming that Public Works is paying to have them treated, or we're just waiting for the day that they just die naturally.
They look healthy to me. That's why I'm curious. Well, what about beach?
The beaches are great, except that they regularly need more shade than most people are willing to give them. I have a property that's all bottom
They need more
land.
shade?
Beech trees, yes. They can grow in full sun, but only after they've reached a certain level of maturity. They're much more likely to be found in a relatively mature forest as like a second or third stage. Not pioneer
Okay,
species.
you kind of
that's
answered
the-
my question because I've got a huge beech tree in my side yard. Huge.
And I'm guessing that at one point you had a decent amount of shade to help kind of balance things out a little bit when it was very young. And then since then, it's fine. It's kind of like growing pawpaws. They can
Yeah.
take full sun after they've gotten a certain size, but when they're very young, they just burn.
Do we only have red maple here? I'll quit asking it because I see, what are
We
the
have
other
about-
maples that I see that,
We have about 25 different species of maples in the triangle
yeah.
that are native. It's just red maples are the ones most people want to plant.
Yeah.
And that same pest can actually branch out and,
Get
no
other
pun intended, and attack its nearest relatives as well. So it's a pain in the, but yeah, anything that's from this area. I mean, if somebody wanted to ask for, like, I have silver maples in my backyard that are gorgeous, but my backyard doesn't have any impervious surface in the back of it. So
What about sugar maples? They're not native here?
there's a southern sugar maple that is, and there's a northern sugar maple that can grow here just fine. It eventually will decline as temperatures rise, but so far it's fine. But there is a southern sugar maple that does just fine. It produces slightly less awesome syrup, essentially. It still does it, but it's like a step below the northern sugar maples.
I love my maple trees because they're clean. They're not like one of these dang oak trees that,
But the
So-
squirrels
I'm
have
sorry,
to
I
eat
don't want to
something.
pick, huh?
One of the
The
coolest things
squirrels
about
have to eat something.
one of the coolest things about oak trees
Yeah.
is they actually
Well, I don't like squirrels
support
either.
192 different species of pollinator plants.
Yeah.
They support the largest number of not pollinator plants, of pollinators and birds of any species or any genus at all. Period.
What is that? I'm sorry.
All oaks. Oaks do. Period.
Oaks do. Oh.
The next closest is the prunus species, so like the black cherries and give me another regular cherries and peaches and those kinds of things. Apples.
Yeah,
Yeah.
home fruits.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, wrapped up. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. Jason, second.
Second.
Okay. John, thank you. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you for your time tonight, everybody.
Thanks.